Shalom, friends. Welcome to this shiur in Mesillat Yesharim, the path of the just, written by the Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, 18th century, a primer in the works of Musar, working on ourselves. Of course, there are many books that one can choose to learn from, but this is certainly features perhaps as the number one work in mastering how to improve ourselves, understanding our duties in the world, and simply becoming greater people in general. I'm Eliyahu Shir from Chesed Ve'emet, my site, www.lovingkindness.co, and we're on chapter 4 of the Mesillat Yesharim, consisting of a total of 26 chapters, by no coincidence, by the way, because the numerical value of God's name is 26. So it has with it some sort of mystical idea, even as if we're working towards the stage of real greatness, connecting with God. Now, chapter 4, we're working on this trait, the first trait of zehirut, of watchfulness, of being careful. We need to be careful and watch out for the stumbling blocks in life so that we can get on and do the things that are correct and good. Now, the Ramchal brought in over here that there are different types of people that think in different types of ways about their spiritual goals and aspirations in life. There are some people who are perfectionists and believe, for example, like in the physical world, everything must be perfect. And the Ramchal already answered up this person and said he should think about perfection in spiritual things as well. And he spoke about an individual who finds that although he might not be a perfectionist, he is a person who feels that it's important to have some sort of dignity in his life, and he wants that dignity. Well, if he wants that, he's going to want it in the next world as well. And then we spoke about a fellow who is somewhat lazy in life. And that's where we left off, the lazy fellow. The lazy fellow says, why do I need to work hard to attain the next world? I can just enjoy my physical world over here, my physical life, as much as I want to. And when I die, I'll die as what I call a good person. I'd like to write a book one day on this idea called a good person. Many people say, well, he's just a good person. And we have to define what exactly does it mean that he is a good person? Well, what is it exactly that makes him good? Is it good because he doesn't murder, he doesn't rape, he doesn't rob? Is that what makes him good? Or what about if he speaks Lashon Hara? And everybody will do that at some point in time in their lives. Well, does that detract in any way from making a person a good person? Well, there are many mitzvot in the Torah. And at any point in time where we are not observing a particular mitzvah, we are detracting ourselves from this particular status of calling ourselves good people, because the Torah is going to define for us what a good person is. Meanwhile, this particular fellow says, I will do the minimum. I will be the good person. They will accept me in the world to come, and I'll be happy with that. The Ramchal says, well, that's all very well and good, he says, but the truth of the matter is that even in the physical world, people do not behave in that way. How do people behave in the physical world when they see how others are doing in terms of the concept of laziness? Well, we read here, just to go back to this last paragraph, for behold, we can see with our own eyes that all of a man's labor is to raise himself over anyone he can and to establish his place among those more elevated. The way of people in natural situation is to always strive to be greater than his fellow. So that fellow is going to do BA. Well, I'm going to do BA honors. He's doing BA honors. I'm doing BA masters. BA masters, you say? I'm doing PhD. What? Only one PhD? I have two and a professorship. The nature of people is to constantly work on outdoing his fellow. Oh, that fellow bought himself a sedan. Well, that's a very nice car. But I've decided to buy myself that fancy X sports car. The other fellow says, X sports car you have? I'm buying the Y sports car that they only made 2,000 in production, and I'm one of the 2,000 that's going to get it. The nature of people is always to look for something that will gain them greater honor, greater success. Look who I am in comparison to who you are. Except, of course, for the one in a billion person who says, me, I'm a humble person. I'm quite satisfied where I am. But for most people, Everybody is out there to outdo the next fellow. It's amazing. One looks at the news sometimes. I've often looked on the internet news, and you'll see, for example, poverty has reached this level, poverty has reached that level. This one's dying of starvation, that one dying of thirst. This one doesn't have proper toilets in the areas where they live, and people are living in filthy conditions. And on the same page, advertised on that same news page, is not, for example, the 4-door sedan for the family, but rather it's the latest sports car that came out. Everybody has to look towards buying that car. Surely you would put on that page, for example, the sedan that the average family member could purchase, but that's not what appears there. A person looking on various social media, for example, wants to purchase an apartment in Israel. He will never see, on the whole, he will never see apartments that are being sold for the regular fellow who is only hoping and wishing he can afford the 2 million shekel apartments that he can live in, 3 rooms in Jerusalem somewhere. It'll cost him 2 million, maybe 2.5 million shekels to own this very simple 90, or maybe even if he's lucky, 100-meter apartment. If he's really lucky, mostly 90 meters. That's what he's going to get for his 2 million shekels. You look on social media, nobody's advertising it. What are they advertising? The 15 million shekel palace somewhere, the 20 million shekel palace somewhere. But the 2 million shekel apartments, you can't find anywhere. Nobody's advertising them. Why? Because people are all the time looking for the very best. In this world, people want nothing less than the best. That is what advertising does to us. That is what marketing does to us. It says, you can have nothing less than the best. This is jealousy between man and his fellow. For if he sees his fellow being elevated while he remains lowly, certainly what he tolerates will be only what he is forced to tolerate because of his inability to prevent it. But his heart will rot within him. The powerful words of Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto tell us what life is in just one paragraph. Life is about this world of great competition where everybody is striving for the very best. And if you don't have it, people don't want to include you or consider you to be a part of the club. You're not part of the clique. Me'ata, says the Ramchal now. From now, im kach, if so, kashe aleihim liyot shfalim mizulatam. If it is so difficult in this physical world to be considered humble next to other people, b'ma'alot hamedumot v'kozvot, with all sorts of levels that are really imaginary, false, nothing. What is the lasting value of that sports car that cost $2 million? 10 years worth of driving, maybe 20. And then what? The car is worth nothing. It depreciates 20% on the day that it is purchased. And you think you're getting such a great deal. And the moment you drive out that car and you say, you know what, it's too expensive for me, I think I'm going to sell it, you lose 20% on the car already. Nobody wants it. It's already been driven. They want the brand new. So people are fooled by imaginary things, and people feel insulted when they see somebody else who has the imaginary good and better thing than he has. That this humility is only from what we see in front of us, meaning from the face, on the surface. How many people we know that they have social media accounts and they fabricate every picture that they put. They use a green screen, they put on their swimming costume, and then they find a beautiful scene of a beach, and it looks like there's nobody on the beach. They put it on, but where the green screen is, they change it, and they Photoshop one thing out and the other thing in. It looks like they're having a fantastic holiday. And then afterwards, they're at a certain mall, and they see that there's a nice car. So they get somebody to take a photograph of them next to the car. They put it onto their social media, and they say, this is the latest car that I've got. And nobody knows who these people are sometimes. And people follow them and they say, what wonderful people these are, how great they are, look how much success they've achieved. And ultimately, the Ramchal says, you think they've achieved success? This is all fabricated. This is all from what we see with our eyes, what we see externally, and we make up in our minds all sorts of stories about who these people are and how great they are. And all of this upliftment is only vanity and even lies. You think the person's really got it. But did you ask if perhaps he took out a mortgage to the value of $3 million so that he could have the fancy car? Did you ask him that? No, because we're so busy taken in by the fact that he has the fantastic sunglasses on and he's driving this car at a great speed with the music pumping away, and his hair is blowing in the wind, and he's winking at everybody along the way as he lifts up his sunglasses saying, look what I've got, everybody. But he doesn't tell the truth. And we're driving along in our simple car. It barely moves. Again, the jalopy that we spoke about in the previous shiur. We're moving along. We feel, when will I have a car like that? We don't realize. This is all foolishness. This is all fabricated. This is all what we see with our eyes. But this is not necessarily the truth at all. Now the Ramchal hits us straight. He hits us where it hurts. He says, how is it going to be that a person is going to be able to sustain and endure? When they see themselves much more humiliated, much more humble, from those people themselves, that they are now much lower than those people. Right? Meaning, in this world, we're already feeling as if we're nothing, and this is just a world of fabrications. This is just a world of illusions, where we think the other guy's got more than we do, but it's all fabricated to lesser or greater degrees. We don't know what the truth really is, and even somebody who's got, and good for him, and he's got it, and it's fantastic, we still don't know to what degree he's fabricating what, and to what degree things are really real. Well, how is this person going to get it on when he gets to that next world and he realizes in the world of truth that there are people over there who in this world he imagines were like nothings next to him? He had it all. And in the world of truth, he realizes that there are far greater individuals than he ever was in this world. And this is in that place, that supernal, truthful, dear, eternal place, that even though now, even though now it is that a person doesn't recognize it, he doesn't recognize the value, and therefore he has no fear about it. He says to himself, it will suffice if I simply get into the next world. It will suffice if I can just be a waiter in the restaurant. Won't that be good enough? I can tell people I'm the waiter in that exclusive restaurant. I'll be happy then. Aval bismano, but when the time happens, vadai, certainly when the soul leaves the body and enters into that supernal world of all eternity, for which we are ultimately in this world for, to attain that particular level, vadai shiakiruhu lamito, then they're going to be able to recognize the truth, litza'aram uleboshtam, to their great sadness and their great embarrassment. Vadai, certainly, shelo yeh lahem zeh, this is not going to be for them, el tza'ar gadol v'nitzchi, the Ramchal says this is going to be a great and eternal distress for the person. See, the person thinks in his life, others, they can do the mitzvahs. Others, they can study the Torah. But me, I have life to live. And they think they're going to get all these treats, inverted commas, to put it onto a superficial, almost childish type of idea. They will get the treats, they think, when they leave this world. Well, they can do what they want to do. As for me, I'm going to be a good person. And when I leave this world, that will give me access into the next world, and I will be very happy and satisfied. The Ramchal says, no such thing. He says, once we get into that next world and we see what the truth is, once we realize with our spiritual eyes what life in this world was supposed to have been, that we should have seen with our physical eyes, then the distress begins. Why did I not achieve what it was that I was supposed to achieve? Why did I not achieve the goal that I was sent into this world to achieve? Did I just imagine that I lived 70, 80, or 120 years in this world because I thought that life was about going to school, getting a job, getting elevated and ascending the ranks in the business, ultimately to become the CEO of the company, and eventually retire and spend the next few years simply on Hawaii beach somewhere, enjoying the sun, soaking up the sun, and saying, well, I lived a good life. Well, at that point in time, once the person leaves the world, he realizes in just a split second, as his soul leaves his body, that everything that what he was in this world for was a complete illusion in his mind. He thought it was all about what we spoke about, and as he leaves his body, he suddenly realizes there's an aspect in this creation called spirituality. There's an aspect called godliness. There's an aspect called souls, secrets, mysteries, creations that continue on for infinity. And he realizes that the time that he had spent in this world was supposed to be a time for growing, for developing himself, for perfecting himself, for achieving good things for himself, meaning spiritual growth, for achieving great things for other people along the journey, and for acquiring whatever closeness he could to this God and creator of the world, to which ultimately he is going to return. And when he does so, he will realize it was no longer an illusion. It was all a real story that was taking place. However, he was not able to see it with his physical eyes. Harei, behold to you, he says, she'eina savlanut hazeh, this patience that they have with themselves, ashehem dorshim la'atzmam, that they're demanding of themselves, the patience, well, I'll be all right, even if I just get into the next world. I don't need more than that. I'm going to have a great time in this world, and I'm going to be a good person. Again, whatever this statement really means. Lehakel mehem, to make it easier for them, to make it easier for themselves. This is the way of the lazy person. Well, it's no different to the person who feels to himself that he gives up on life and he says, I will not do more in my life. I will only do the minimum that I need to get the minimum job, to get the minimum wage, to get the minimum. That's how he lives his life. Because he feels if he does less, he will have more opportunity to relax more. So he says, and this makes life much easier for them, that they can release from themselves the difficulties of all the work that they need to do. What is the work? Studying Torah. How much is there to do? 63 tractates, 24 books in the written Torah, thousands of chapters of the Shulchan Aruch, Mishnah Brura. What about the works of Kabbalah and Eitz Chaim and the Otzot Chaim and the Shmona Sha'arim of the Arizal? What about the books of Rabbi Avram Abulafia? What about the Midrash? What about understanding the gematrias of Torah? What about the growth that we need? And we ask, well, how much work? What about the prayers? What about the days of fasting? What about the days of the festivals, eating matzah, blowing shofar, sitting in a sukkah? How much there is to do. All the tikkunim, all the corrections and repairs that we need to do on ourselves and to do for the world and to improve ourselves, others, the world, and to get close to Hashem. How much there is to do. Ein sof, there is no end. Ella, pitoi kozev. But simply, it is a fabricated, it is a false seduction. Shemefate yitzramotam, that their inclination seduces them. Velo diber amiti kalal. It is the inclination, the sitra achra, the satan. It is the evil force within oneself that distracts one and says to them, did you think that life is supposed to be about God? God? There is no God. You created yourself, and everything that you do is your own effort. The money that you made is yours. The body that you have, you made it yourself. The eyesight that you have, you developed it when you were a kid. What about your hearing abilities that you worked on at the age of 2? Everything you got right yourself. You made yourself, and you have created your entire life. And you come along and say there is a God? What a shame on you. This is the way of the Yetzer Hara. But the way of the godly individual, the first moment he opens his eyes each morning, he realizes, God is there. I have a duty in this world. There is much avodah to be done, much service. I cannot rest on my laurels. I cannot be lazy. I need to do work. There's more Torah to study, more prayer to be done, more mitzvot to be done, more acts of kindness to be done. There is no end. I cannot be lazy, and I cannot take the easy way out to be such an individual in my life, to simply say, I do the minimum, and I will accept whatever I get for that minimum. Let us stop over here, because otherwise we'll continue. It'll go on. The whole idea of the shiur was supposed to be approximately a 20 to 25 minute shiur. So I hope that we've gained from this shiur. I hope that you've gained. I certainly gained from it myself, listening to these ideas, reading these words. It makes an impression on me, myself as well. And so I hope that it brings you to see more as well of how much there is for us all to do, how we need to grow together, how we need to develop ourselves, how we need to give to each other, how we need to be there for everything, so that this world becomes a meaningful world and we are meaningful people having a meaningful impact on everything that is in existence. Thanks very much for joining me. I'm Eliyahu Sher from Chesed Ve'emet, my site www.lovingkindness.co. Thanks very much. If you have enjoyed this shiur, please, I'd appreciate it if you give me the thumbs up on the YouTube, and of course feel free to comment and be in touch with me about any subject that you want to. If you'd like to study some other aspect of Torah, another book, be in touch. Let's learn something together. We can learn Stofrut. We can learn the laws of family purity. There's so much that we can learn about, and I invite you to learn with me on any subject of your choice. I look forward to another shiur in the near future, and I wish you everything of the best. Shalom, shalom. Bye-bye.